Hello folks, in this episode there'll be an update on the river module, including a new bridge portal, and after that there's going to be a bit more of a chat about some of the new plans for how the modules are going to come together, and included in this there'll be an opportunity for you to vote on what module I'm going to be building next. So if you like the sound of that, stay tuned and I'll speak to you again in a bit. Bye for now. Hello folks, Paul here, UK Rails and More. Hope you're all keeping safe and well. As always, big thank you to everyone for watching, commenting, and again for everyone who's recently subscribed to the channel. That's really appreciated, so thank you. For this video, I just wanted to mainly do a bit of a talk about and look at some plans for some planning ideas for how the other 6 modules are going to link in with this one, and really which one I'm going to do first, because I need to start thinking at the moment just a little bit about the next one, because this is rapidly nearing some level of reasonable completion, where not finished but certainly to the point where it could be linked up and have some trains running. The big 2 jobs or 2 reasonable jobs to do is going to be the ballasting, which is going to be different colours for the upper line and the lower line, and I want to make those on the cork beds, which are going to individually, so that I've got some profile there for the trains, and also I'm using that little metal rail tool just so that I get realistic spacing that's going to look right on the layout. So yeah, I think that's going to be a good thing to do. Once that's done, it really looks good when you've got your ballasting on. Prior to that, a few of you would be aware of this one that I showed in the last video, and also the I forget the wording for it really, but the engineering structures and retaining walls. And on this one, that's basically polystyrene, which I just tried to experiment with, which I think from a bit of a distance looks not too bad for a stone wall, and even closer up I think with a bit more detailing you get that nice effect where you get, looks like the masonry has started to break out. Now obviously that needs a lot more weathering, a lot more colouring. All it's got is the very initial stage, so you've got darker near to the bottom and then a bit lighter to the top, and the various overgrowth and everything, but that line's going to look a lot better when we get that ballasted, the different colour as well. But I thought that that structure there is one quick job that I could really do for this underpass here that passes under the lower of the 2 lines, and I was thinking of just trying to do something now with polystyrene prior to ballasting that can then be painted up initially and then later weathered a bit more to good effect before we finish that. Other quick ideas to just update you with, just trying to experiment with different methods as I'm going along here, but these aren't in situ yet. But basically my idea was that as I start building up the layers of either varnish, or even I'm even thinking of experimenting with some PVA actually, because you get a very good shiny effect on it as well where it reflects. So I'm thinking that once that's done, or the varnish is done and built up the layers, it would be good to have some underwater reeds as well, that are going to also be one of the things that's going to suggest the river flow direction, along with things like building up debris that's going to have collected through floods and through higher water levels, that collects and gets built up effectively around those legs. Another thing with these legs, you'll see I've just started to do a little bit of weathering on them as well, different types as I did with the bridge, just to break up the colour a little bit. But one of my thoughts with this is another little job is whether to move one of these out a bit so you get a slightly more into the flow of water appearance, so they're effectively staggered a little bit to the direction of the bridge. I thought one of the benefits with that, and I think it was similar to that on the real prototype, or the one I'm getting the inspiration from on the scenic river section, is that you can actually see between the 2, and I'm a bit unsure yet what I'm going to do, whether I'm going to actually be putting a protective stone base to these so they're actually stood out of the water, which I think is most likely. But what I was also thinking is that if you bring them out a little bit like that, there's that retaining banking there at the back, And if I also readjust this around here to drop that down a little bit, then I'll have a situation where the water can actually be flowing round them to some extent, and then kind of doing some pooling and stuff where it's gone round them. So yeah, any thoughts you've got on that, please let us know on the comments section, whether you think that's a reasonable idea, or if you think of how they could be in reality. That's always well appreciated, and I'll get back to you as well. If for any reason I don't get back to you with any comments, it's likely be something to do with where I've missed it in some way through YouTube. So certainly give us another comment. It may be something I've just completely missed. So yeah, let's just have a look. Anything else? No, those are the main things really. Obviously need to just finish off the scenics around there, and I'm thinking of potentially putting a riverbank path along there, with obviously some protective fencing to keep the railway embankment on that side secure, and also the fencing that we've got there is going to be extended to run along the bottom of this to keep the field separate from the railway embankment as well. But I was thinking potentially either a scenic riverbank path on that side that may come from this end where that road goes under, or even potentially a bit of a scenic path that drops down in the distance over there. But yeah, that's still yet to be decided. But yeah, hope you find that interesting. I'll get to work on this section, bring you back with the results, and then we can have a look at the planning of how these modules are going to link in together. Thanks for watching so far, and I'll speak to you very soon. Bye for now. Hello folks, so welcome back. So yeah, just to give you an example of this one, I've left it, I've not painted it yet or anything, just thought I'd show you so you can see it, how it's done with the polystyrene. But that's sort of fairly thin. It's probably about 1 centimetre, 10 mil wide polystyrene, and simply just put a couple of pieces going through underneath on either side that'll be, you know, aligned correctly. And then basically just cut out to the profile of the embankment. These are obviously going to be coloured a bit more like that and kind of weathered and everything is appropriate. And I've just put an old BR Mark 1 coach there, and of course a little parcel van just to give you an idea of the scale and the height and everything of the clearances. So it's just a case of cutting round you know, a cylindrical shaped item for that bit, that span. And then these ones were just a case of cutting them out and then kind of filing them off slightly, or just rubbing them against the ground so that you get that kind of leaning out and leaning inwards, or leaning out at the top angle. So they're slightly leaning over rather than just being straight up as you get it in effect in reality, because they want to, they very rarely just go straight up. And then it was just a case of, again, you can just see a little bit on this one, just filing off the edges so they fit reasonably well, and any small gaps and everything I can just fill those in as I go with a bit of glue and filler, what have you, if I need to, and see how they look when they're painted. And then on the top I'll just put some you know, stone end pieces on the top, probably a bit like these to give this kind of effect. But yeah, quite pleased with that. I think it just gives it a little bit of variety. I was thinking of using this type of bridge for there, but I thought let's have this perhaps as a bit of a slightly different one that you get, just to give that little bit of variety, and probably just have the low bridge markers on there. Whether I get those as proper signed ones or make some of my own, but they'll probably be curved ones. We'll have to just see. And then that I'll speak a little bit more about this in a moment when we go on to the planning phase and we look at some plans. But I need to think about what this road is going to actually do. And one of the ideas, it's going to be some kind of station approach type road that maybe goes into single track. Maybe it's not for the public, maybe it's just one of the, you know, the rail track or equivalent kind of maintenance access kind of thing. But yeah, see about that. And then it's just a bit more to do on the river and the rest of the bridge, and of course the ballasting. But one of the next things will be just to get this painted up and see how it looks overall. This side you can see it goes pretty low to the track. It may be on this side because this embankment's actually, they're both actually the same size, the angle of those. It's just this embankment's had to be marginally steeper, so I may just use some of the various bushes and everything just to fill that in so it looks a bit more flush. And then obviously on the top bit there, you're going to have a little bit of a wall, so this won't need railings at the top, it'll just need the edging stones on the top. Whereas obviously this one over there, that's going to need similar type of railings. Just as one point about the railings and the colour of them, for these I wanted them to be quite subtle, so it just looked, you know, very much a metal, old steel or old iron type work bridge with the various bits of weathering. But these railings, you do see them, I saw some the other day, and they were actually bright yellow for health and safety, but I thought that might just be a bit too much for the whole bridge. But yeah, it might work okay here if they're kind of newer ones, maybe, you know, you could have them red or yellow or maybe even just black, I don't know yet. I'll have to have a think about that. So yeah, hope you've enjoyed that little bit of an update just for your information. That just took 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes, that was it. So just a case of measuring them out, cutting them. You can either, if you've got a sharp Stanley knife, that works quite well, or if you want the really straight edges, sawing them lengthwise, just very, very low pressure, and you get quite a nice cut with them. But yeah, should look quite good when it's weathered, hopefully, all being well. So yeah, hope you found that useful. I'll bring you back for the planning phase. Bye for now. Hello folks, so today's mainly been, this morning at least anyway, has been mainly about some flight planning. Here's some of the typical comms and nav aids planning you'll do for an instrument flight, which I'm doing at the moment. And there's just a quick look at an aeronautical chart. But as well as that, it's been a case of putting into practice on the simulator and flying a few different routes. But also, there's been time for a bit of layout planning as well, and how these different modules, as the river module at the moment, and how they're going to interact. So if you're interested in that, stop around and I'll bring you back in a moment and we'll speak a bit more. Bye for now. Hello folks and welcome back. So yes, I thought I'd go into a little bit more detail about the planning, just as a point of interest really, and to see what people think. If you do like the planning type videos, then please let me know in the comments and I'll do a few more of them going into perhaps a bit more detail. But yeah, it's certainly something that interests me, and I can spend quite a while just really looking at the planning and checking things and working out whether things will work or whether they won't, and putting them away and then coming back to the plans and sort of double checking them. But basically, for anyone who's new to the channel, the central one that you see there is the river module, and basically that features 2 tracks on either of the lines. So there's a double line upper level track there, which I've just marked as upper so we can keep tracks of where they all are, and unsurprisingly enough, we've got the lower one as well, which is also a double track main line. And the idea is that the lower level one will be a main line that will have various different types of trains there, from passenger express, local commuters, and then probably some kind of intermodal type freight, as well as other varieties as well. Also then there'll be an upper line which is mainly going to be freight trains, similar to the ones that you see at Peak Forest, so your stone quarry type trains. Now, part of the plan is I'm going to be doing a preservation railway as well, and I've not decided yet whether that's going to be based on the upper line somewhere further along or the lower lines. So yeah, if you've got any thoughts on that, then let me know in the comments, or pros and cons of either. But my thoughts were perhaps that might be something that could work with the upper line, but I'll see. The other feature is, and the main feature of this, is you've got a river that's running through that line, and that's based very loosely on an old river crossing where you had a similar type of double crossing here in Heaton Mersey near Stockport, which is long since gone, but one of the freight lines is still remaining. But yeah, I just thought it was a very interesting feature to model, and it gives some good potential for filming the different trains as well. Anyway, without further ado, let's have a look at the further plans. So basically my choice is, and to anyone who's not aware, the idea is there's going to be a river module, there's going to be a suburban rural station module, okay, there will also be a city module, or town or city module, which I think is going to be up in this direction, and also there'll be a line that's very loosely based on the Wye Valley, Monsaldale, Millersdale type line, which for anyone, I've done a scenic inspiration video for anyone who's interested where I've actually driven down one of the roads, but for anyone who's not aware, it's a really dramatic line, that, because you've got a very, very steep sided valley, really almost cliffs in places. In fact, there are cliffs in places. And what they've done is they've put a railway line that used to carry one of the main connecting lines, I believe, between the east and west coast main lines, perhaps. And that line went through a very steep valley. It's a real interesting engineering feature. So you've basically got a road that goes from Buxton to Bakewell and Matlock that runs through this valley. It shares the valley with a river, the natural river, which is much smaller than the river here. And also the line, and what's interesting about it is the line crosses the road and the river multiple times in a very short distance, and I thought potentially I could at least include one of those crossings. If not, there is a bit where, you know, being a bit cheeky with the scale really, I suppose you could actually potentially get a couple of where the river in and out of one, and you could get a couple there. So that's that module. I'm going to go back into these in a little bit more detail, but I was just giving you a bit of a rundown really. The other modules that I've put on one side for now, because just I need to focus on these areas first of all, is a DRS TMD. I've got two DRS class 37s, a class 57 and a DRS class 66. So because I really like the DRS livery, so I thought if I've got that many locos, that will be a nice start for part of a DRS TMD, and that will very much be looking at using something the size of these modules for that one. So it will be, the idea will be, you'll have the points going into a kind of a depot, with the idea that that depot beyond scenic breaks would go on significantly further, so that it would be a fairly significant one, but for scenic purposes and for viewing purposes, I'll just have, you know, a few locos just sticking out the front of that, and that will effectively be as far as it goes. As well as that, there will be a preservation line, as I've mentioned a little bit over there, the city module. There will also be a potentially a quarry peak forest module. Basically, it'd be same kind of size of this. This is the Wye Valley module, but basically it would be something where I've got part of the two lines running through it. Be very much based on cuttings similar to peak forest, and with potential for a couple of points coming off, maybe a loop and just a few storage sidings coming off. So again, it would just be part of that, but that would be something potentially do later on, and I've got the option of putting that in. Moving on to the other module here. So this is kind of the more suburban one. What I was looking at was having the lower lines would come through at the embankment level here. They would be on embankment level for a while here. Potentially this river could go left or it could go right in this direction, where the upper line would go over a further bridge or viaduct, or it could go underneath the station here, which you do get in places. I think it may happen in Macclesfield, where it goes underneath parts of the structure for the main station. So that's the option there. And what I would have here is perhaps a station on there, the station building, and this acting as a bit of a scenic break, effectively, that station building and a road going across, as you often get, and then a main scenic break here. The idea is that the upper line would go high level first of all, and then it would go towards very steeply sort of higher ground going up here. So it would disappear from view in cuttings. So you either wouldn't see it because of the cuttings, or potentially it could go into a tunnel portal. My idea is then that this would be a complete scenic break, so that on the other side of it, that most likely would be the town city scene or module, where you would get the two lines reappearing. So on this side you'd have a city station, again buildings hiding, obscuring where the different lines come out, and the higher level would be on the background. You'd have a potentially this would be scenic, or potentially it may be similar to this, a non-scenic section, but either way you're going to have these stations reappearing with the three lines reappearing. Possibly the passing loop side of it will remain beyond the station on the other side, so that you've got three lines on the lower level, as you do get in cities where you'll get more lines, more individual lines together. And the idea is that the higher level line will converge on the lower level ones, and that would be very much elevated track work, as you see in cities like Manchester, where you've got lots and lots of viaducts. You've got various bits where the viaducts have been bricked up underneath, or the properties have been built up underneath them because of the shortage of space. But anyway, that's sort of well for the future, really, that one. At the moment, the focus is going to be on finishing the river module, which is nearing some level of completion. I know layouts are never complete, but scenically, at least, it should be nearing some kind of completion fairly soon. And then the idea was having building next, either this one, I'm thinking, would be the next logical one, or equally, this one could be a next logical one. The differences are that these two work together as one scene, so effectively they are sort of partner modules there. This one is going to be separated from these ones via a scenic break, and this basically stretch of non-scenic section just to turn the lines around so that the lines enter this module at the correct places. Again, with this one, the idea is that the track work for the lower level is either going to stay completely out of view underneath that high ground, or it's going to resurface here for a nice little feature where you get the lower level one and the upper level line going across that near that tunnel portal. So yeah, my thoughts were on that, try something a bit different. I don't mind really which one. I've got pros and cons for that one and that one next. But either way, I don't mind with that at all. So what I was going to do, try something completely different, and ask you, the viewers, people watching it, whether that means you've got your own layouts or whether you just watch the videos. And kind of my idea was just have a vote on it, see what people thought, see if anyone's got any real preference as to which one to do next, and just a bit of fun really, and it'll also generate loads of comments as well, hopefully, which is always good and helps the channel, is to do that, have a vote of it, and then if I say you know, by a particular point, you know, the end of the week or whatever, I'll go through, add up all of the votes and see what people think, and then that's what I'll do next. I'll do that particular module next, and then those who voted for it, you've actually had some real direction in the way this module is going to be built, and this layout's built, the order of it. Of course, for those who preferred the other one, then not all's lost, because as soon as I've done that one, you can guarantee that the very next one is going to be that one, or if I do this one first, the next one will definitely be that one. So it's always going to be this kind of configuration before moving on to the next ones. So yeah, let me know what you think. If you've got any thoughts of anything I may not have noticed, or anything that you think may not work about it, or suggestions for other ideas that could work, then as always, I'm very grateful if you could let us know in the comments below. If you don't hear back from us, I'll try and answer every single one. If for any reason you don't hear back, let me know. It's probably likely to be a glitch of YouTube or the notifications or something else why I've not actually got it. So just give us a nudge and I'll get back to you on that one. Next idea, I was going to do some peak forest stuff as well as building up further this module, and then looking next few weeks to start on with whichever of the other two modules we do, and then hopefully not too long after that I'll be able to sort of get some trains running and a bit of filming done. So yeah, that's the general plan. So yeah, hope I've not bored you too much. If you've stuck around for now, deserve a cup of tea, no doubt, and I'll speak to you again very soon. Thanks as always for watching and commenting on the videos.